It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org from Louisville Public Media.
Consequence Podcast Network. Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org. Consequence and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, for checking out the episode. Hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with the entire series. I do 3 new interviews just like this every single week, doing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artist, discover those new ones. You can grab us any of the usual podcast places like Spotify, Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, YouTube for the video versions, or anywhere you get your podcast from. You can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. Don't forget to give the show a rating, leave a review if you feel so inspired. That always helps out quite a lot. We've had some great guests on recently, including Mike Campbell. Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, Mike Campbell of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Actor Jeff Daniels was here. Eels, we talked to the band, E from Eels. Derek Trucks, country singer Carly Pierce, director Richard Linklater, actress Adria Arjona, Sal Vulcano from Impractical Jokers, Brandy Carlisle, Ani DeFranco, Maya Hawke, Caleb Followa from Kings of Leon. Just an example of what you can get when you subscribe to the Kyle Meredith with podcast. That's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, it's a special Rewind episode. In fact, it's a trio of Rewind episodes, all with Kim Gordon. She was one of the founding members of Sonic Youth. In that band's demise, she's had just the coolest solo career. And in the art world, all the things that she's been doing. We're going to revisit 3 of my interviews with her. The first one in 2019, which focused on her first solo album, No Home Record. We talk about 80s hip-hop and Fleetwood Mac and her autobiography, A Girl in a Band. And then from there, you're going to hear 2 more interviews, one from 2018 and then one from even further back with Bill Nace. They've got their side project, Body Head, that we recorded in 2014 during the Big Ear Festival in Knoxville. So all that and more, it's a Rewind episode. Let's get into this. Celebrating all things Kim Gordon, it's Kyle Meredith with Kim Gordon.
Hey.
I don't have to say that I'm a huge fan and I've been waiting for this record for a long time, but I'm a huge fan and I've been waiting for this record for a long time, and it sounds so good. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear this this solo record. Congratulations on this. It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Glad you like it.
Yeah, I was reading an interview with you recently as you're talking about this, and I'm taking it out of context a little bit, but you said art is at its most commercial right now. And I think you were talking about decorative arts along the lines of the Airbnb stuff. But I kind of wonder, though, if that's the case, do you find that also influences how you come about to a record like this?
Well, I was talking about the New York art world as being more commercial than it's ever been, and maybe I was contrasting it with LA, which isn't as commercial because Hollywood money isn't like Wall Street money. But the Airbnb thing is more about, I guess, seeing what people's idea of art is. Obviously they're decorating their house and they're treating art. There is a lot of high art that is basically decoration, or once you see it in a corporate lobby or something, it doesn't really have any, I don't know, often it just looks like decoration to me. Then, when you use prints and reproductions of paintings, and it becomes something else. And then when it matches the bedspread and the towels and the rugs, and you get kind of semblances of what might have been African art, which is now like a porcelain elephant or something, like in some, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to me. Maybe I'm just a sociologist. And
Well, I guess, and what I was, of course, trying to do was tie it back to the music because, in the past few years, you've put out these really amazing records with Body Head, which, finds you in more of a freeform structure. It's a lot of improv in that, and this takes you back to the pops, I guess we can call it as a pop structure. is closer to what you're in now? And not that you have to pick one or the other, but do you find that you're more comfortable in one than the other?
Well, they're just different. I mean, playing with Bill Nace and Buddy Head, it's just kind of fun, pure fun, and it doesn't have like all these. I mean, it has its own built-in expectations, I guess. If I maybe that's more for Bill, or that he knows the scene more of like noise music and all that, but I don't really have to pay attention to it, so it's kind of freeing for me. And I don't know, this was just kind of experiment. I do like listen to. I don't listen to that much pop music, but I like rap, and I like songs, and I listen to all kinds of super mellow music from the past, whether it's Neil Young or Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, Steve Gunn, and Kurt Weill too. I don't sit down and put on a noise record at home so much. It's more something I'd go see as for the experience of it.
Well, there's a Fleetwood Mac. You mentioned that they get kind of a little nod in there, and it was Tusk, right? It was Tusk that you kind of that led you to them. Tusk,
yeah.
That's an
their
interesting,
most hated record.
It just turned 40. It's on its 40th anniversary, I think, this week. Not that that's here nor there, but it's kind of interesting that that's the one you centered in on. It's a cool record. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I hear Fleetwood Mac all over now. Like it's like you can't escape it.
You'd also mention hip hop there for a second. Paprika Pony, I think, gets really close to, with that beat that's happening behind that. It reminds me of the old school style. And you all were always early champions of hip hop and rap before it was widely accepted. Where did that come from for you? Was that just primarily a New York thing and your accessibility to it?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. It was a New York thing. And then, of course, God, I remember talking to Rick Rubin when he was still an NYU student living in a dorm, and he was telling me about he was going to record this, like, rap artist in his dorm room. And I was like, yeah, right, Rick. And, he just became, like, this huge producer. But, no, I like the LL Cool J's radio, that it was very minimal. And, just like it's kind of in New York, you hear so much music pouring out of people's cars and just kind of a cacophony of mixed genres at times, Madonna and then some rap and Run DMC.
Was that actually a touch point when you were going into a song like Paprika Pony, or is it coincidence?
I mean, I kind of, I relate to hip hop or rappers per se, as I'm not like the best singer or like biggest range or big on melody, more of a rhythm kind of person. I like also that it's kind of punk in that you don't have to be a muso or like know much about music. You can kind of make it through appropriation, or at least that's the way it started, and kind of had this do-it-yourself aspect to it, really, which was pretty punk. And I mean, I just like I like a lot of Chicago hip hop.
With the book now in the past, but do you find does the lyrics update the story at all that's directly related to where you left off in the book?
No. I don't know. I didn't really I mean, I feel like that was several years ago, and I don't know. It has more to do with this kind of text I started writing or wrote for an art show about pitching a TV show, and just kind of it was an excuse to make observations about other things and throw it into the mix. And I guess, I wasn't really thinking of it in that way. You could.
We do, because if you're a fan, we kind of hang on to the words, and of course we're going to try to draw the connections. But I don't have to be right, obviously. What about the live band? What's the live show on this gonna sound like? I mean, are you specifically taking this album out on the road? And if so, who's playing with you?
Well, I have to put a band together. A couple of different people play drums, but there are only drums on a couple songs. So it'll probably have someone will be like kind of putting it together with me in terms of being able to use backing tracks or files and mixed with some live musicians, and it might be more of an art performance vibe, but I don't know. It'll be weird.
I hope so. Is there any reason to play any of your older songs that you took the vocals on for Sonic Youth when you're out there?
No. I mean, I can't really I don't have any desire for that. I mean, even if I played all the songs on this record, it's only 40 minutes, so I have to think of some way to maybe write some new songs or something. But I can't really think of any Sonic Youth songs that I'd be able to pull off unless I just did it a cappella.
Right. I wouldn't complain. We're close to a bull in the heather here. It gets played all the time here in Louisville just because of the Kentucky Derby and everything. That's become a bit of a yearly anthem. And the mythology that runs out of that, because was it one of the guys from Pavement used to live over here? I forget which one. And there was always this...
Bob.
Yeah, Bob. And there was always a rumor that you all had come to one of his parties during the Derby. But did that ever happen?
No. Never went to his party. So.
Dispelling that right now, finally.
But we did a lot of gigs with Pavement, so
could have worked.
Every night was a party. Ping pong party.
A ping pong party?
Yeah, kind
of. Just like with the table.
Yeah, I mean, well, they had on Lollapalooza, they had a ping pong table.
I think I've seen some of that video, the video footage. All right. Congratulations on the record. I love it so much, and it's so great to hear from you, and I can't wait to catch one of these weird shows that you're going to put on.
Thanks, Kyle.
And we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. It's Kyle Meredith with Kim Gordon. Now, it was just 2018 was the time that Kim and I had caught up, which revolved around the 20th anniversary of the Sonic Youth record, 1,000 Leaves, and the 30th anniversary of the epic classic Daydream Nation. So we got to talk about both of those, as well as her projects in the art world, the improv sounds of the band Bodyhead, and the song Murdered Out. And it was the song Murdered Out that eventually led to this new solo record, so I thought this is an easy tie with the interviews. So check this one out as well to get even more of the story. It's part 2 of Kyle Meredith with Kim Gordon.
Oh, hey, hi.
Let's start out with just what you've been up to, because the last we heard of you musically was you put out the single Murdered Out, and that was 2016. And it was a one-off single, but I thought at the time, oh, this means that there's more on the way, maybe, I don't know, a solo record or something. And that assumption was wrong.
Well, I am going to do a solo record. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm doing it with that person, but who I worked with on that. But it's going to be the person I'm working with is really busy.
Right.
So I don't know. It might take a while.
Yeah. So no timeline on that. But was that ever the thought when that song came out that that there was going to be more to go with it, or was that always meant to be a one-off?
Well, I just really hadn't. It was just something that happened, so I hadn't really, planned anything more right then. I mean, it was kind of, everything takes so long. And now Bodyhead, we have a record coming out in July 13th on Matador. So.
Oh, with Bodyhead?
Yeah. So if I do have a solo record, it'll be like next year.
You're also on the new Stephen Malcolmus record, I've heard.
Yes, I am.
What's your involvement there? What are you doing on that record?
Oh, I'm just doing a duet. It's a sort of a faux country song about marriage, I think. Yeah, so that was fun.
Can you tell me about any more about the Bodyhead record while we're here? Is that still?
It's really heavy, and I don't know what to think of the Bodyhead record, but it's quite different than the first one. So, I don't know. It's just heavy.
Let's do 1,000 Leaves, because this album is turning 20 on May 12th. I don't feel like this is an album that gets celebrated very often. I mean, there's just so many, Sonic Youth records that people turn to, and this one's sort of... I want to tell you, I had the poster of that on my wall for like most of the second half of my teenage years.
Oh, wow.
Take the trip down memory lane. Like, what comes to mind, if anything, when you think back to that record?
Well, I mean, I know that we were, I think it was very influenced by, having our own studio, and we'd been putting out, doing these kind of more instrumental, kind of just more experimental things on SYR. What was our last more kind of really song-oriented record? Was it Dirty? No, it was Experimental Jet Set, I think.
Yeah, Jet Set and Washing Machine between this one and Dirty.
Washing Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 1,000 Leaves was after Washing Machine, or was it? Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I guess we sort of, Washing Machine, I'm talking about another record.
That's all right.
I think we felt like that was a really good recording experience. The recording felt very naturalistic. And, the whole kind of career of Sonic Youth, the whole time people would always say, "Oh, your records don't sound like you do live," and I think after a while we sort of gave up trying to do that, because also it's kind of dumb because people are listening to something on a giant speaker, and it's just a live experience. This is totally different. I mean, some people really try to replicate their records, I guess, and that's like a point of kind of honor, or not honor, but to be exacting in that way. And we were never that sort of band anyway. So I think that though there was something about, the recordings that seemed always to separate us from the music, and the feeling playing live and what the music sounded like playing live. So Washing Machine felt, even though it did have a lot of reverb on things, I think, it did feel like a kind of naturalist kind of sounding record. And so when we went back to our own studio, which actually we could have our own studio because we then toured Lollapalooza, and we took some of that money and invested it and made our own studio. So we could then record more, and we started doing this like SYR record, because that we didn't want to be put through some like big kind of record company machinery of promotion and blah, 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 blah. Because it's so frustrating. You have to wait so long to put a record out. Anyway, so 1,000 Leaves, I think, was very influenced by that process.
When I look back, especially, 1998, I thought the alt scene, that you guys had released Goo and Dirty in, that sort of drifted out by that point. We're getting into the late 90s, almost to the rap rock and cock rock takeover of radio and everything. Right. But I thought, it almost was probably a nice thing for you all, because once that certain spotlight had kind of shifted that way, it seems like it would take the pressure off. Because when I listen to this now, when I listen to 1,000 Leaves now, it almost sounds like one of the first times that Sonic Youth sounded like you were really comfortable and on your own speed.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean by naturalistic or something. Like, we weren't sort of trying something out that was out of our comfort zone in a way. I mean, Sirius, we like to record at Sirius Sound because they had like a 2-inch, and it's very analog sounding and all that. But I even remember the last record we recorded there. I guess it was experimental, like working with Butch Vig. We kind of got into this thing of saying, well, that's good enough, instead of going back and redoing take after take. Because I feel like with like Dirty and Goo, we basically really took the rock thing as far as we could, and then ultimately found it sort of less satisfying when we saw where it was kind of going. Like you were saying also, like we kind of just hit a wall with it, and then it's almost like we just became more introverted or something. Yeah, so that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, that's when I started loving Sonic Youth the most, when you became introverted.
Oh, good. I mean, I don't even remember what's on that record or what it sounds like, to tell you the truth.
Well, there's three songs that I'll bring up. First, Sunday was the big single off of it. Was, I guess, the only single off of it. Which, as I look back on now, I don't remember seeing it, but you had Macaulay Culkin in the video?
Right, yeah. It was sort of Thurston and Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, okay.
I think Harmony shot it. Harmony Korine. Yeah.
I see him.
And it was kind of like he had this idea he wanted to do, so...
a couple of your songs that I'll point out, especially because there's always, with a lot of your lyrics, they've held on, they've aged well, and I'm going to say they aged well in really fortunate and interesting ways, because the first track is, I'm going to try to say it, Contre le Sexism, which I think transfers to Against Sexism, and then the Female Mechanic. And listening to those now, and the things that you were talking about, and all the way back, especially to your very famous line and cool thing that people are holding up on posters everywhere now. This all eventually comes out to the Me Too movement that's been in the last year or 2 years and everything. And I don't know if you have a reaction to that, a feeling of that, but that's got to have some kind of positive effect on you, that I would think.
Well, it's funny. I mean, but it's sort of like the way the media works, and it's just sort of like, well, sexism didn't just happen now, so, and I don't know, I guess when we signed to major label, I think I really felt like
okay, I actually have a platform here that like I can write a song about anything, and it almost kind of I felt challenged by it, like to step up to the plate or something. Like so many people write love songs or that, and it's kind of like, well, as a woman, I had so many things I could write songs about as subject matter, and like there was like swimsuit issue, like right after we signed at Geffen, I think there was kind of a big A&R person who was called out for sexual harassment, and it was kind of a big deal. And I think we felt not only had we signed to like accused of signing to a major label, but it was like one that had this particular scumbag, but of course it was just like, he was probably the tip of the iceberg, or, like no one just talked about it. But, I really deeply felt like the sexism coming from this corporate world, and, things like they'd have like Secretary Day, but they wouldn't necessarily like help kind of nurture secretaries into other jobs, or, like promoting them, or, and, so that was kind of, I think it's funny. It's just funny how things come around. They don't go away, and, but I actually had totally forgotten that I'd written that song. Until, well, I guess, and also female mechanic, I just kind of.
I guess what the nice thing, I guess that I'm trying to say with that is, when we would see those stories in the 90s, it was almost like those people, even if they got in trouble, it would just be like a stern slap on the wrist a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know about the situation you're specifically speaking to, but a lot of times that happened. Whereas now it feels like, whether the huge ball keeps rolling in the way that we all hope it does, but, those mountains are starting to crumble. And like I said, for you to be such a voice of that, and interestingly, with words you said 20 years ago and 25 years ago, to still have such an impact and to be so inspiring, to women marching and traveling across the country to walk on Washington.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was so funny because it was just that inspiration for the Cool Thing lyrics came from a couple different sources, and I almost meant it like, it was just like one of those lyrics on the. They did actually eventually. I guess now they mean something. But I was kind of thinking of I was inspired by a Raymond Pettibone film and Jane Fonda and LL Cool J. Like it was. But I don't know, it is interesting. I don't know if you really think it's. I just feel like, I guess I'm a little pessimistic though. I just kind of feel like people such short attention spans, and it is like all the sexual harassment stories coming out. It's all kind of built on like such a culture of sexism, that it's so deeply ingrained, and it's genetically ingrained. And I don't know. I just hope it keeps moving forward with some momentum.
Yeah. I think it's just everyone's so starved for that change to finally happen because it's been so long coming. It's such a long time coming.
Be,
Yeah, but at the same time,
it's been repressed so long.
Yeah, at the same time, we have a dude in the office who has been sued by dozens of women, and nothing will happen. Nothing will happen.
Yeah, because there's so many kind of white male kind of small thinkers in office, and
I don't think we're going to solve the world's problem with that, but I do appreciate you in that sort of idea right there, as I know a lot of folks do.
That's great, thanks.
So let's turn to another record then, which you pointed out to me. I wasn't paying attention to the 30-year anniversary, but in October, Daydream Nation turns 30 years. And I feel like everything's been said about that record because there are literally books written about that record. How does it sit with you in a catalog, to be held on such a pedestal like that? Like, do you have the same emotions that I think people give that album rise to?
I sort of didn't until we, because once a record's done, you just kind of, you sort of have to forget about it, and then you go out and you play the songs, and they take on sort of a new life of their own. But when we did relearn that record and start playing it live again, it had such a different feeling than all our other songs after that. And, it's like it's so dense, and it was actually just such an intense thing to play. But like listening to it, I don't know, it's not as, I didn't get the sense of the songs individually of having that much power. But actually playing the songs was really hard. And in the sense that it was just really a lot of energy, and maybe it was also coming out of being influenced by hardcore and just super like dense kind of music that was around us.
Yet at that time it ends up being, I guess your most accessibly as a pop record that you guys had ever done, which is interesting that that's what the influences were coming from. That you ended up on the charts with that record.
Yeah, it's weird.
Were you aware? Well, I guess I should say, when did you start to become aware that it was taking on that life that it eventually did?
I don't know. It was just a kind of gradual, I guess, because people would, mention it as, our best record or something.
Yeah, it's in the Library of Congress now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a moment. I forgot. No, I remember, being like we were in Japan or something when they had the Paz and Jap poll, and it was like #1, and I remember being just completely surprised.
I don't know. I mean, to have, we talk about these records, to have something that dominated your life for 30 years and then for it to be done and gone. Do you feel the absence of Sonic Youth, or is it still people like me making it constantly circle around you?
I mean, I don't feel the absence of it, because I kind of felt like we sort of took it as far as we could. And I don't know, also I'm just kind of sort of busy with other things. Now able to like pursue making art more, which is kind of the most important thing to me. And also I love playing with Bill. Like I love playing, I love Bodyhead. I love the freedom of it.
And that's, I'll try not to make that part of this interview too awkward either, because, it's well written about how Sonic Youth kind of came to an end and why it came to an end, without getting into your personal life. But that was sort of the question, like, had Sonic Youth made their final record one way or the other? Was that happening regardless?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I think, when it gets, I think that we had a lot of good times and good moments, and kind of amazing that the band was able to become as big as it was. I just can't imagine what it would be like starting a band now that was, writing songs or indie rock or whatever. And like I just kind of feel pretty much like, dynamics in a band get old, and it's kind of like it's better to stop before, it's just all the good times get forgotten,
Right. There's a lot of great music in there. I certainly do appreciate every bit of it. I'm always excited about what you're doing next. Like I said, I thought Murdered Out was I was so taken aback by it. It just kind of came out of nowhere, but it was such a good song and so great to hear you sort of in that style and mode as well. So.
Yeah, no, I would like to do more actually with that producer too. I think I might. I probably will, but I think there'll be like one-offs or something.
Well, I thank you for the time, especially you gave me a lot of time here. I really appreciate that. But
oh, sure.
Yeah, and I look forward to the new Bodyhead. So maybe we can catch up more when that happens, and we'll
yeah, definitely.
We'll get Bill on the phone too and make it a big thing.
Cool. All right.
Well, take care. Is there anything else we should know about? Actually, I should ask. You just did an art show, so I didn't know if you had any more of those coming up. That was.
Oh yeah. Well, it's up until the 28th in LA. There's like there's actually a kind of a narration part to it, as well as the painting and sculpture, and there's like sound effects in the room and stuff.
Where is it?
It's at this gallery in LA called Rena Spalling's Fine Art. They have one in New York, and then they share the space with another gallery from Mexico City. They kind of every other month they curate a show. And yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, and how long is that up?
Till April 28th.
Well, awesome. I don't think I can get to April in that time, but I hope some of our listeners can. So,
yeah.
Awesome, Kim. Well, thank you so much again, and it was great talking to you.
You too. Have a great day.
And we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. It's Kyle Meredith with Kim Gordon. Now, back it up just a few years right before that, and it was the first time that I got to talk with Kim and Bill Nace of Bodyhead. They were together. We were backstage at the Big Ears Festival down in Tennessee, and we got to chat about the debut Bodyhead record called Coming Apart. So I'm going to drop that one in here as well. It's part 3 with Kim Gordon.
Hi.
So we're at the Big Ears Festival here in Knoxville, Tennessee, which you guys are a part of, and it seems like there is no more perfect festival created that you guys could be a part of than what's going on right here. I don't know what we say. It's like innovators or those folks who are skirting the art and pop world, and you fit in.
Yeah, we're just sort of zooming around the edges of everything.
Yeah. Well, do you see yourself as part of a club that's going on here?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we're literally like, we're kind of...
I don't know what are we.
Oh, we don't have to categorize what you are.
We never feel like we're actually in the club, whatever the club is.
I just don't see, like, for a lot of festivals, there's you couldn't take a yearbook photo of it, but this one, it seems like you could actually take a nice yearbook photo of everyone, and it's going to make sense.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, but it's this type of music. It's what's going on here that I guess it's. I mean, could you ever imagine anything like this ever going? Mainstream's probably not the right word, but somewhere like the accessibility and everything, because there's really interesting stuff. And I guess what I'm getting to is, you guys aren't what I'd say a rock band, and everybody here is not a rock band, but in the realm of rock and pop, you hit those walls every few years, and it takes something moving it forward, and it feels like we could get something out of this. These are the artists that are trying that, but do you ever feel like these are the artists who could ever be? I don't know, what's a good example?
I think that idea, though, of the mainstream kind of breaking into that in that way is a little like not as relevant nowadays. It's more about like access, which is I think easier than it used to be to kind of check out a wide array of things.
I mean, I guess you don't need a radio hit anymore just to be
right
to make a living,
or to not make a living.
Right.
Did you make a living off your radio hits? That's a good question.
We didn't have any radio hits.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that there's something interesting about maybe eccentricity is a kind of a way you could describe even some of the bands that are playing.
Yeah.
Like television or
right.
But I think it's just kind of accumulated. People getting sort of years of that dissonance and that kind of music like filtering up, and I think basically anything can also be marketed.
Sure.
Like the Red Bull Academy did this festival that, I mean, I don't know how many people actually went. It wasn't like Lollapalooza or anything.
It was
but they called it drone music, which I would never, I think very specifically drone music as like, minimalist classical music or the Velvet. I guess I can see how people think of the Velvet Underground as drone music, but I don't think of that.
I don't think it was drone. Well, I mean, we look at his history books now, so it's through that filter.
Yeah, but people seem to have glommed onto that word as something that is...
well, didn't we just call it shoegaze at one point? There was a catch-all with shoegaze as well, that if it just
that was more pop, though.
Yeah, slow and murky, and it's like there was shoegaze,
Yeah.
I just think having improvised music at a festival is kind of, not the norm.
Well, it's not jam band improvised music.
Right.
It's not like free jazz or something like that.
Right.
No, but we're improvised, and I'm not sure. I imagine the high note trio maybe has some improvisation going on.
Yeah.
So I just think to have that at a festival is pretty, not usual, which is nice.
Well, that's a great lead-in actually to you guys' record and everything. So it's the debut Bodyhead record, and there is a certain amount of improv into that. And I've read about that there was some structure to it, but there was also a lot of free range, and how that plays towards the live show. Because when did it come out? I mean, this record's now
September.
Yeah, so whatever, 7 months or whatever that is. DJ math. It's somewhere in the 12 months or whatever. So I mean, it couldn't have started out anything like the record, but now what are those? Are they completely different? Have you guys found that there is any kind of structure to these songs on any given night?
Well, we're really not playing this. I mean, it literally, the record literally was completely improvised.
Okay.
And then, including the lyrics and the vocals, but then I went back and overdubbed some other lyrics, and we did some shaping and a little bit of editing and a couple of guitar overdubs, but
so you're
the
not
only thing
playing
that
that.
remains is, well, no, we could never recreate it. It was completely made up in the moment. So, and it's our whole career that is what we do live on stage.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's really carried over are some lyric ideas. Basically, but as far as
just things that we do because it's who we are and that's how we play.
Yeah, like our vocabulary of playing, and we're so kind of used to playing together that. So I like to think of it as sort of scripted improvisation, but it's really unscripted improvisation, really.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's what the set list looks like. Like, how does the set list look? Does it say abstract on it? You're like, no. So that's what I'm getting at.
But when we tour in Europe, we for publishing, they always want the names of the songs, so we just put down the names of like the songs on the record. Like it's just.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know.
What are you going to do?
It's
It's funny. Bill, I know that you've said in the previous bands you didn't work a lot with vocalists. There wasn't a lot of vocalists. Now, once again, you've had time. What has that been like for you? And have you found new tricks over these months? To how that shapes.
New tricks, how?
Of working with it, because you played a voice. I read an interview that said you've learned how to play to voice, and it's a very different thing.
No. I wasn't saying I learned how to play to it. More just that it's changed how I play with other people or how I approach it. But you can kind of get away with more as well in terms of, because the way Kim sings, it kind of ties it together, and I think it gives it that kind of song quality.
It's the Lebowski rug.
Yeah. Exactly like
Bill's
that.
favorite movie.
But so we can, I don't mean get away, but we can kind of work with more abstract musical pieces that then the vocals kind of tie it together and make it something that I don't think it would be without the vocals. So just for me, I had never really played with that much, so it was just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd played with vocalists, but more people that did also like kind of really just, abstract kind of extended technique type of stuff.
I mean, there's a million genres out there, and kind of putting in a box of just what we know, usually as rock pop. It's so foreign to hear like someone talking about not playing with a vocalist that much, and then learning it this far into a career.
Right.
The exciting thing about Bodyhead, and I guess with what you guys are saying too, it doesn't really seem like there's a roadmap much at all. I mean, I don't know how you see it. Is this a project or is this your band?
It's our band.
It's band.
It's the band. Is it the band right now, or
we had the name, so we're like, let's make it.
No, it's a band.
So.
Yeah. And I guess that's what I said, and Kim, maybe it's because, you've been through many projects that we call projects, and I guess that's the splitting hairs, the definitions between what's a band and what's a project. And, do we get to have more Bodyhead records, down the line and that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done that many projects.
I think project gets used when there's like a main, it's like Free Kitten was a band, but Sonic Youth was happening, so then people kind of...
Sonic Youth was a project, Free Kitten was a band.
Exactly, yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, it's all like where your entry point into that is.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it means that much.
Yeah. It might not happen on this level, and maybe this is an awkward question with it, but have you had any problem finding your place, given Sonic Youth and the history of everything like that? Coming from where you are, because there's a spotlight, obviously, when you walk out, and this is a new band, it's Bodyhead, but here's Kim Gordon. Have you found any problem finding a place in it?
Finding a place.
I don't know if saying in the spotlight is the right thing, but just saying like this is a duo and not, once again, a project.
No, I mean, I think because it's a duo, there's not much of a issue with that. I mean, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Well, Kim, for you then, was it any means for reinvention? Because there is similarities in sound to what we're used to hearing from you. But did you ever step out and said, I could completely reinvent myself with this?
Well, I didn't really think about it so consciously. I just felt like I wanted I liked playing with Bill, and I just thought, oh, great, now I can just play exactly what I want to play.
I'm the captain now.
It just, playing with only one other person, it's just easier to focus on the music, for one thing. And also, I don't know, I just thought, we're just going to make this music. We didn't really think beyond just going down in the basement and starting to record, and then starting to do some shows.
Yeah, people always want like a narrative of something that's beyond just like,
this is what happened.
I like to play music, and you know,
we have to fill space sometime.
It's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't actually thinking. I was thinking more I would just concentrate on art, but I did miss playing, and it was fun to do something I thought, you know, I wouldn't have to promote.
Yeah, and here you are.
But yeah, and then if you like it, then you want people to come see it.
Sure. Well, we love it, and that's the great thing about this. I mean, luckily it worked. Do you mind if I ask how the book's going? Because there's going to be a bio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going.
Yeah?
Actually, my deadline is April.
The way you're saying that doesn't sound too promising.
Let's just say I should be at the hotel writing.
Yeah. Have you found has it been surprising at all how much people, from the moment we heard there was going to be a bio, they were like, I mean, salivating, you know, at the actual story?
I mean, it's not going to be a Sonic Youth bio.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's, you know, things about, of course, writing about different songs and recording and different stories about that, but its purpose isn't to make a Sonic Youth fan totally happy.
Yeah. So you went into it actually.
So just set your bar
just
low.
like the band.
You know, please, yeah, I want everyone to set their bar low.
Yeah. Did you go into it with that idea? Yeah. Did you have that idea when you went into it, when they said, hey, let's write a book? Did you have to think, what is the book? What's the angle?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would have to instead of just
you make a proposal.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know the book world. I don't know how it works. Have you read all of the other like unauthorized biographies that have your life in it?
No.
Did you ever open any of those? Because there's quite a few out there.
They're all really awful.
Are they?
Yeah. They're boring. I mean, the only one that's actually, I mean, they're not awful, but they're just, you know, they don't have any context to them.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The best one is actually this catalog, Sensational Fix, from a show art exhibit that unfortunately didn't come here because the recession was going on. But they went to 7 or 8 museums in Europe, and it was exhibit that had to do with artists we were influenced by and collaborated with, and just it was less really about Sonic Youth, but it had individually some of our artwork and some ephemera and stuff from Sonic Youth, but it was a kind of an interesting context for the band, and it's really the best book on Sonic Youth. I think Byron Coley's going to write the ultimate.
Yeah, it's going to be the one.
You know, like leave those details in.
One of these days. Well, good luck on the April deadline, and thanks for giving us Body Head, both of you guys.
Thanks.
It was great meeting you both.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
And there it is, my rewind with Kim Gordon. Thanks to Kim for all the interviews over the years. Definitely check out her latest work as well. Thanks to you for checking out this episode. Hit that subscribe button while you're hanging around so you can keep up with all the interviews that I put out every single week. It's a new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Spotify, at Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org. Consequence, YouTube for the video versions, or again, anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. And again, don't forget to give the series a rating, leave a review. After that, head over to WFPK.org, where I do a show Monday through Friday, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. You get 4 hours of classics from the 80s and 90s. You get the best in new music. There are bonus interviews, lots of music news as well. One of my recent shows featured some classics and favorites from Morrissey, Joan Jett, Leve, Elvis Costello, the DBs, Walter Martin, Karen O, Thievery Corporation, the Gaslight Anthem, David Bowie, Prince, Alanis Morissette, Why Bonnie, Snack Time, Badfinger, John Prine, Betty Severtz, Willow, Raven Lene, Jason Isbell, and my interview with documentary director Sarah Dowland as we talked about Sue Bird in The Clutch. Again, just an example of what you can hear when you tune in every weeknight starting at 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on any of the social media sites. The address is always the same. It's at Kyle Meredith. And I do hope you like and follow along. And that does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time. Consequence Podcast Network.
It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org, from Louisville Public Media.